Hello, this is your PVR English. Today, I came here to teach you about the literary devices. So, what are these literary devices? What is the role of literary devices in our English language? And what are the different aspects of literary devices? Let's get find out. Before getting into action, so as it is our traditional mark, let me invite you all to my ELL session with the tagline of COVID-19 presents learning like never before. Right, without any further delay, let's get into action. After completing this lesson, you will be able to know what is a literary device and what are the different aspects of literary devices, and also you will be able to know what is the main objective of these literary devices. Right, what is a literary device? A literary device is a typical structure that is used by writers in order to express their message in their works in a simple manner to their readers. So there are different aspects of literary devices we have. So they can be treated as literary elements and literary techniques also. So let's get find out what is this literary elements. What are these literary elements? So the first one, plot. It is the sequence of events that helps a story or a novel or a narrative. Second one, setting. It refers to a place or time in which the story takes place. For example, in India's one of the biggest motion pictures is Bahubali. So it is presented in two parts, in fact. So the first, when it comes to the first movie, this Bahubali 1, the setting of this movie, so it refers to geographical aspect. So that is when the water falls. So at the beginning of the story, so the story takes place at waterfalls. Okay, right. Then let us see this next one. Protagonist. So it is the main character of a story, novel, or play. For example, in literature, Shakespeare's wonderful play Hamlet. So in this play Hamlet is obviously the main character. So the hero. Protagonist means nothing but the main character, hero. Hero in this play Hamlet. So when it comes to Bahubali movies, obviously who is the protagonist? Amarendra Bahubali is obviously the protagonist. And antagonist. It is a character in conflict with the protagonist. That means he is the villain in a story, novel, or narrative. For example, in literature, in the play Hamlet, so the antagonist in this play, Claudius, whereas in the movie Bahubali, so Ballaladeva, obviously he is the antagonist in these movies. Next, let us find out the next literary element. Narrator. A narrator is the one who tells the entire stories. Next one, narrative methods. It is the manner in which the narrative is presented, comprising plot and setting. Let us move on to the next literary element. It's dialogue. A dialogue where the characters in a narrative, story, or novel communicate with one another. Next literary element, conflict. What is a conflict? It is an issue in a narrative, story, or novel so which around the entire story revolves. Let us move on to the next literary element. So what is mood? It is a general atmosphere of a story, novel, or play. So the atmosphere, generally it conveys the atmosphere. Okay, so this is what we call tone also this. And the next one is theme. It is a broad idea and it is the central idea or concept of a story, play, or novel. So these are only few literary elements we have. So apart from this, we have many literary elements, but these are the basic literary elements that we must learn in school or college levels. Okay, without any further delay, let's move on to the next aspect, literary techniques. What are literary techniques? Let us learn. So literary techniques are also known as stylistic devices, rhetorical devices, or figures of speeches. So let's move on to the first one, imagery. It is the use of figurative language to create the visual representations of actions, ideas, and objects in our mind. So, in such a way, they appeal to the sensory organs. For example, this room is dark and gloomy. Here, the words like gloom and dark, which describes the room, and the words like dark and gloom, so symbolize that visual perceptions. So when it comes to the second example, so in our 8th standard, we have a wonderful moving poem, so which is written by Ravindranath Tagore, and who also known as his pen name Bonita. So in this poem, he was trying to recollect the wonderful and nostalgic memories of his mother. So as he lost his mother when he was very tender age. So in this poem consists of three strangers. So all these three strangers express imageries. In the very beginning of the first stranger, so when he was being cradled in a swing, he was trying to recollect the wonderful memories of his mother. So when she was singing a song, so it is a sense which appeals to the sensory organ. It is ear. That means ear. So when it comes to the second stranger, while he was offering surely flowers to the god, and here the odor of these surely flowers, they appeal to the sensory organ nose. And the last stranger, so before he went to bed, and again he was trying to recall and recollect the nostalgic memories of his mother. So when he opened the window, he had a blur image in the sky, so about his mother. And there he also started recovering and bringing back the wonderful memories of his mother. So here this appeals to the sensory organ eyes. So let's move on to the next literary technique, hyperbole. A hyperbole is a literary technique. It is a deliberate exaggeration of actions and ideas for the sake of emphasis. For example, this school bag weighs a ton. So it's impossible a school bag which contains a ton. So something that is said overstatement, that is what we call exaggeration. So this is an example of hyperbole. And let me tell you one more example. He is so hungry he could eat a horse. So this is also an impossible statement, so which is said in an overstatement or exaggeration. So this is also yet another example of hyperbole. Next one, allegory. An allegory is a literary technique in which an abstract idea is given a form of characters, actions, and events. For example, in intermediate world syllabus, so we had at once George Orwell's Animals Farm. It is an abstract idea. So with the help of these all these fictitious characters. So let us find out the another example for allegory. So in our ninth class, we have wonderful poem, so the duck and the kangaroo. It is also a wonderful example of allegory. It's an abstract idea. So how can we say that in an abstract idea? Because it is not at all visible. Here, having been inspired by the adventurous life of kangaroo, so duck also wanted to ride like kangaroos, and the duck also wanted to travel just like kangaroos. So the duck earnestly requests the kangaroo to give ride, and finally, so the duck fulfilled its wish, and the kangaroo also fulfilled the wish of the duck also. So it is a wonderful poem. So when we have so good qualities like obedience, courtesy, admiration, so we will definitely so won the hearts of many people, and also it highlights about the friendship. So this is nothing but an allegory. Let us move on to the next literary technique, simile. What is a simile? A simile is an indirect comparison between two distinct objects, places, or things. Generally, it takes the clues like as or like. For example, in our eighth syllabus, so in the lesson the selfish change, there was an example here and there, or the here and there, over so the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars. Here, so the flowers have compared with the stars. And let us take another example. This room is like a prison. This room is like a prison. So here also there is a comparison between two unlike things. This room, and it is being compared with the prison. So this is what we call simile. So when it comes to 10th syllabus, especially in the poems Once Upon a Time, here it is a wonderful poem. It's written by Gabriel O'Cara. So in this poem, he pleads his son not to repeat the same mistake just like him. So he feels regret for having such a dangerous smile. So that he uses the technique of simile here in this poem. His smile, that means his teeth like snakes bear fangs. His teeth like snakes bear fangs. His teeth is being compared with snakes bear fangs. That means such a dangerous smile it is. His smile contains a lot of venomous. It means he compared the smile that he found in his mirror. It was such a fictitious smile. It was such a dangerous smile. So that is what we call a simile example in this poem Once Upon a Time. So let us move on to the next one, metaphor. A metaphor is a direct comparison between two unlike things without taking clues like or as. For example, life is a journey. Ride it. And she is a lioness in the battle. See, there was a comparison, but it was a direct comparison between the two unlike things here. She is being compared with lioness, and life is a journey. So life is being compared with a journey. So this is a direct comparison. So this is nothing but metaphor. So let us move on to the next one. So personification. So what is personification? A personification is nothing but assigning human qualities or characteristics or features to the non-living things. For example, so the wind howled during the night. Here, the wind is nothing but it is a non-living thing, but it is assigned as a human being quality. That's what is that howl. It is given the quality of howling, just like human beings did. So this is an example of personification. See, in our 10th class we have a fantastic poem. So, or will the dreamer wake up? It is written by Medora Chevalier, and it focuses on how the certain species would become extinct. So unless or until we take care of themselves. So in this poem, in the very beginning of the first stranger, out in the east jungle, listens a tigress plaintive growl and pain. These great trees here are breathing. These also represented personification. Out in the east jungle, listens. So here jungle means forest, but it is given the quality of a human being. That is what is that? Listening. Meanwhile, the great trees here are breathing. Here also, the great trees here having been given the quality of human being. That is what is that? Hearing. So great trees here being referred as non-living things, but it is assigned as a quality of human being, that is hearing. So this is a good example for personification in our SSC syllabus. Alliteration. So alliteration is a repetition of consonant sounds in the words coming together. For example, build your brilliance. So in this example, so the consonant letter B repeats it twice. So this is an example of alliteration. So let us move on to the next example. In our 9th class, we have wonderful poem, so the duck and the kangaroo. So in the very beginning of the first stranger, so the duck, so it feels awestruck, and it was admired by the hopping activity of the kangaroos, and the duck was obviously inspired by the adventurous life of kangaroos, so that it wanted to hop just like kangaroos. So it feels so surprised. So there we can find that one word. What is that? Good gracious, how you hop. Good gracious, how you hop. Good gracious. Here you can see the consonant letter Z. It repeats twice. In second example also, how you hop. So here H is a consonant letter that repeats. So this is a wonderful example for alliterations. Okay, let us move on to the next literary technique. Next, imagery. It is use of the words in such a way in which the intended meaning is completely opposite to the internal meaning. For example, so the bread is soft as stone, which means that so the bread is firm as hot. Actually, the bread seems to be very soft, but in contrary, it is completely opposite to the intended meaning of soft as hot. So let us take another example. So it is from our SSC, APSSC English textbook, from the lesson The Dear Departed. So the title The Dear Departed is a good example of irony or sarcasm. So this is the lesson written by William Stanley Horton, which brings out the degradation of moral values in the middle class families. And this lesson also highlights how the elderly people are neglected by their children. So here we have the central character. He is none other than Abel Merriweather. He is a septuagenarian and who had two daughters. So they are Emilia Slater and Elizabeth Jordan. Emilia Slater, she is the eldest daughter, and obviously she is the antagonist of this one I play. It means she is the villain in this one I play. And see, in the beginning of the story, when she went to offer something to her father, she found that he was dead. And there the story starts. And then they started shorting out the list of property which belonged to that Abel Merriweather. Actually, he was not died, but she presumed he was dead. And when we look at this title, The Dear Departed, the dear means one who is loved by all, whereas departed means leave or bygone. So this is an example of irony. And here Abel Merriweather, who was loved by all, actually he was declared as dead in the beginning of the story. So in this way, this is the best example of ironies. So that's all for all the literary devices. These are some common literary devices. So apart from these, we have plenty of literary devices. So, but these are the most common literary devices which you must learn at school or college level. Dear students, so the main objective of taking this class, most of the students at school level, they don't know the knowledge about these literary devices, and they don't know the knowledge of literature. So in order to bring the awareness of literature, so I have done this videos. Hopefully you understood my intention. That's all for today, and we'll meet again in our next video. Okay, this Stay in Real Time video presents. This is your PVR English. Bye bye.